Good morning, I'm Will Piper and welcome to this StaffsLive entertainment special. Today we're going to be talking rock and roll, and joining me to do just that is lead singer of rock band Fozzy, Chris Jericho. Chris, thanks for having us.
I'm excited to be here.
Good stuff.
It's amazing.
Now Chris, obviously you're from the sunny states of America. Here you are yet in wet, cold, miserable Stoke-on-Trent. First leg of your tour last night in the UK. How was it?
It was great, yeah. It was always good to start off a tour with a sold-out show, which we had last night, and I think we haven't been here for like 4 or 5 years. Yeah. But yeah, it was a little bit cold and rainy, and it's funny because a friend of mine is from here, a very prominent guy called Slash, and I was talking to him last night. I was like, dude, it got dark here at like 4 p.m. It's raining, it's cold. I'm listening to Pink Floyd. It's like a recipe for suicide, you know? But once you get inside and it's nice and warm, it was a good show and a good time. So, and it's actually sunny out today. So yeah. Come on, man. It's good times.
Great stuff. So, as you say, you were here 2005 as your last time you were in Stoke. The fans last night at the gig were electric. Are they the reason you wanted to come back to Stoke?
Well, I mean, we have been coming here since about 2004, and we've always considered the UK, more specifically England, to be our second home for whatever reason. From the first time we came, which was just down the road, our first show ever was in Nottingham, and I remember just walking on the stage, and there was just like so many people. I just couldn't believe it. Like, wow, like where these people come from? So for whatever reason, I guess Fozzy just appealed to the UK fans right off the bat, and we have played everywhere. We've probably been here a dozen times, not to Stoke, but to England. Yeah. The biggest cities, the biggest stages, from Download and the Astoria and Sonosphere to, you know, Stoke and Exeter and Middlesbrough and Margate and everywhere in between. So I think that's one of the reasons why we have such a great fan base here, is people know that we don't just come here, you know, do a couple shows and leave. We beat the streets, man. We go everywhere. So, and like I said, I don't even remember the last time I was in Stoke until I got on stage. Then I remember, I remember this stage. I remember this, like, you know, the ceiling, and there's a, you know, a pillar right here in front of the guitar player. But it was a great time, and it's a great city here. So I'm glad to be back. Sure,
yeah. You say the UK is your second home. I heard you say before that the UK is where you really feel that Fozzy broke out as a band.
Well, in a live sense, absolutely. Yeah, like this was the first time, like I mentioned, not just Nottingham, but all the shows that we did. There was just, you know, great crowds, and it's been that way all the time. You know, some tours are better than others, but people have always showed their support for Fozzy, and now more than ever, we have a great record deal on Century Media. Kerrang is a good supporter of us now. Metal Hammer's a supporter of us now. So it's good to know that after, you know, 8 years or 9 years of coming here, that now we've got so much momentum behind us and growing so quickly, bigger than we've ever been, which has been amazing. And you can say that after all this time. Sure, yeah. So let's look ahead to the rest of the tour now. The fans loved you guys last night at the Underground in Hanley. What can the rest of the British fans expect from you? Well, I mean, we have a reputation of being a very entertaining, energetic live band, a great live band, shall we say. And there's a lot of people that know what we do, and like you saw last night, we expect a lot of crowd participation. We expect a lot of energy from the crowd, and we give a lot of energy. It's very reciprocal. The crowd, the energy that you get from the audience fuels you, which in turn fuels the crowd. So it's kind of like I said, it's a really cool arrangement that we have. So we go to Manchester today, Birmingham tomorrow. I think Leeds is in there. You know, you don't even know because there's so many shows. We're doing 10 countries on this tour. Yeah. So I just know like where last night was and where today is and where tomorrow is, and that's kind of the extent of my knowledge right now. But you know, like I said, last night was sold out. Today is close to it. So people know what to expect, which is just a good time. We actually want people to have fun at a rock and roll show. Is that allowed nowadays? You still allowed to have fun? Well, we do that though. Okay, let's talk about the new album. You've got a new one out. Came out in August. Sin and Bones. Yes. Congratulations, just a killer record. Thank you. It reached #1 on the US Billboard Heatseekers chart, I noticed. So obviously a big reaction so far already. Yeah, whenever you're going to do a new record as a band, you always want to make sure that you always want it to be the best thing you've ever done. Yeah, sure. And every band, when they do a record, will say, this is the best thing we've ever done. But is it really, or is it just kind of feeling it in the moment? And we had a really certain mission plan in mind when we started writing this record. Our last record, Chasing the Grail, was a big success for us. and we really kind of honed in on what it is that we do best as a band, which is very heavy riffs and very melodic choruses with a lot of harmonies. Like if Metallica and Journey had a bastard child, it would be Fozzy, and not a lot of bands really do that now. And we felt that we do that. What we do best is that style. So we really wanted to focus in on Sin and Bones to kind of make a very cohesive collection of songs that has a similar vibe to it, a similar tone to it, and really focus in on what we do best. So we did that, writing the songs, recording the songs, and then when they finally, we handed it into the record company, it's like, okay, this is the best thing we've ever done. And we felt that, but still you're kind of wondering, like, are the fans going to feel the same? Are the critics going to feel the same? And then when the reviews started coming out, that's what everyone was saying, the best thing Fozzy's ever done, the best Fozzy records. Was like, we were right. So the most important thing is that you feel good about it, but you want other people to feel the same way. And the record has been the best reviewed of our career, the fastest selling, the highest on the charts that we've ever had, not just in the States, but here in England as well. So it's just good to know that all of this hard work and this hunch that we had that this was the way to go paid off. And then, we're playing in our set on this tour, we're co-headlining with Soil, so it's 60 minutes each. And probably about 40 minutes of that set is new material, and it's going over great. So it's exciting for us too to have these new, these new colors to paint with, and to see that the fans are reacting the same way.
Yeah, sure. Now, just a word on Chasing the Grail. That was a massive album for yourselves, as you say. The difference between that album and the new one, Sin and Bones. You're saying that's the melodies, the grooves, the appearance?
What I was saying was that I think Chase the Grail was the first time we really focused in on that and kind of like hit a home run with it. We're like, oh, okay. Yeah. It always takes a band, a while to really focus in on what it is that they do. What is it that this band does best? And so I think Grail was the time we really kind of discovered that. That was kind of the ray of light hit us and went, oh, we're like, oh, that's it.
Is that the album that put you on the map, do you think?
I think so, because we had a little bit of a break between All That Remains in 2005 and then Grail was 2009 or 10. So there was a little bit of space between it, and then right before we started doing Grail, I was like, listen, we really want to focus in on this. This is our full-time job now. This is our full-time gig, and everything else kind of fills around that. And once we started really focusing more than ever on what we were doing, that's when the band really started taking off. On the Chasing the Grail tour, it was like about 15 months long, 15 countries. Playing the Sonosphere gig was huge for us over here. A lot of the festivals that we did, and then we really, like I said, that was where we really kind of had this awakening of what we were doing. So I think if you're taking them as the logical progression, Sin and Bones is a great progression from Grail. In my opinion, a lot better, but still in the same realm. And I think from now on, that's what you're going to get from us on every record. Just an extension of what we've been doing, which I think the fans enjoy hearing from us. We like playing it, and like I said, it's something that makes us stand out a little bit different from what other bands are doing. Okay, yeah. Now, I've heard you say before that you want this Sin and Bones record to be as big for Fozzy as the Black Album was for Metallica. Well, do you think it can be? I didn't say that. What I said was, it kind of goes, the template of what we followed when we were doing this record is the Black Album. That was kind of our mission statement. And kind of going back to what I said before, the Black Album by Metallica, for those of you who don't know, is a very cohesive record. It's very heavy. There's a lot of groove to it. There's a lot of versatility and diversity, but it all fits together. You could put on the first song, Enter Sandman, go all the way through to Struggle Within, and it takes you on a journey. You can listen to that record all the way through. There's no filler on it. And that's what we wanted for Sin and Bones. You put on the first song, Spider My Mouth, go all the way through to Storm the Beach is the last song, and it takes you on a musical journey. It's like watching a movie or something like that. I mean, it's not, I mean, you can listen to it on shuffle. You can buy certain tracks from it on iTunes if you want. But this album was created and meant to be listened to from track 1 to track 10. And that's what I wanted from the Black Album. Obviously, I mean, you know, I wasn't expecting it to sell 10 million records and become a worldwide phenomenon. Would be great if it does, but that's not what I meant. What I meant, what I meant is that was our working model. What the Black Album was, as far as a great record that you could listen to and get something out of all the way through, is what we wanted with Sin and Bones. Okay, now as you said there, you played a download earlier this year, alongside bands like Metallica, Black Sabbath, Megadeth. For Fozzy, that must have been a massive experience for you guys to
Is it a case more of sort of watching them and watch and learn with bands, you know, that are so experienced?
Well, I mean, we've been watching and learning those bands forever. I mean, those are huge influences on us, you know. But it's always cool to play with those type of bands, tour with those type of bands, because you started out as a fan, then you become a peer, and then you become a friend. I mean, I watched Metallica from side stage. You know, Lars gave me the pass, and you know, it's funny because we're going to Australia with them in February. And Lars texted me the other day, and he's like, I heard you're on this run in February. And I'm like, yeah, on this run. It's like 5 sold-out stadium shows. Yeah, we're on this little run with you in Australia, Lars. So, but it's cool. I mean, it's like I said, you know, talking with Slash yesterday, he's like, you know, I was like, oh, we're in Stoke. You know, he's, oh, that's cool. Where are you playing? The Victoria Theatre. I said, no, we're at the Underworld. Most of the places we play here are the Underworld or the Underground. I said, where are you at? He said, Mexico City. I said, where are you playing? The Underworld? He's like, no, we're playing at some arena. I don't remember the name of it. Yeah, of course, exactly. But I mean, these guys, they now become your friends, and you can talk to them about, you know, how's Fozzy doing? Great.
Yeah, sure.
You know, where are you at? Slash, where are you playing? And that's one of the coolest things. I mean, for me, when I was a kid, I wanted to be in a band, and I wanted to be a wrestler. Those were my 2 dreams. And I spent my whole life following these 2 dreams. Wrestling started off first, but I still always continued to play music and record, you know, songs and write songs and stuff like that. And now that we've gotten to this position with Fozzy, I'm really, you know, it's really fortunate and cool to know that I had, you know, both of these things kind of come true, and being peers with all these guys that, you know, I grew up listening to, and bands like Avenged Sevenfold and Bullet for My Valentine, that they, you know, older, younger, our age, everywhere in between. Our band has a lot of respect because the guys that are in our band have been doing this for a long, long time. So it's just really cool to kind of see all the mutual respect between all the bands that we know. So
you said a lot of bands already, Metallica, Journey, Bullet for My Valentine, just a few. If you could cite some just for your musical influences, where would you point at?
Well, I mean, like I said, the one cool thing is we really obviously love, you know, we love Metallica, we love Iron Maiden, we love Ozzy and Sabbath. We also love, you know, Avenged Sevenfold and Bullet for My Valentine and In Flames and Hailstorm and, you know, bands like that too. But I think the difference for us is we have a real affinity for a lot of the bands from the 70s. Like I said, Journey and Styx and Foreigner, you know, and even a little bit earlier, Pink Floyd, Queen, the Beatles. And the reason for that, the crux of that, is that the melodies those bands had were amazing. Everybody sang back in those days. All the members of the bands sang. So you'd have 3-4 part harmonies on stage every night, and that's what we have. Like, you know, I look at a lot of bands that we tour with, they don't even have, you know, backing vocals, or if they are, they're just kind of for the choruses where you're shouting along. And our guys are singing all the time, you know, and that's something that I think is that's probably our biggest influence that not a lot of the other bands have, is that 70s vibe, that 60s vibe, when all the guys in the band sang. And it kind of got lost for a while, you know, in the 90s when, like I said, Nirvana came out, or bands like that, where it was more of just one guy was singing. Even Guns N' Roses, you know, Axl would sing, and there wouldn't really be a lot of backing vocals. So that's kind of, we bring that into our sound as well. And you can have the, you know, the heaviest of riffs and the blast beat drums, but if you don't have a song that's got a catchy chorus to it that people can remember and can sing along to, you're not going to go very far. And the best bands, no matter how heavy they are, have that. I want to talk a bit about the music industry as a whole now. Obviously, the industry is dominated by pop music. I mean, it's forced on people through TV, radio, etc. Is it sometimes a bit more difficult to attract fans to heavy metal because it's such a unique genre? Yeah, I mean, metal's always been kind of an underground thing, but it's interesting. I was talking to our manager about this the other day, especially in the States, and it's like there really isn't a lot of danger in rock and roll. There hasn't been that one band that's come out lately that's been really, like, you know, like I said, like all throughout the years, there's always been that game-changing band, whether it was the Beatles or Zeppelin or Sabbath or Van Halen or Guns N' Roses or Nirvana, a band that, like, took things in a whole different direction, and something was a little bit off about them. You know, like when you saw, you know, Guns N' Roses in '87, if they're on your set right now, you wouldn't exactly know if they're going to get up and, like, trash the place or whatever, right? And I think especially in the States, like, a lot of the white kids, so to speak, have gone away from rock and roll over to rap or country. There's a lot of, like, kind of like rock country type guys, and there hasn't really been. I mean, rock and roll has been a little bit hurt by that. But there's still a lot of diehard fans, you know, in rock music and metal music. And, you just have to find those pockets of it. I mean, you know, you go to Download and there's 100,000 people there,
course,
and obviously, sure, Metallica is headlining, and Sabbath is headlining, but there's you know 50, 60 other bands that are all drawing. I mean, we played Download on Saturday, which right after there was a huge storm. It was muddy as hell. It was noon, and we got there at about 11:30 in the morning, and there was one band on before us on our stage. We were on like not the main stage, but the second stage. And when I got there, it was like, you know, you can kind of see like, oh, there's spots of people here and there. It's kind of like, all right, well, sometimes the gigs just go that way. There's not a lot of people in this early morning. Probably about 1,000 people there. I go into like the little dressing room area, I'm warming up, I get ready to go. I come back on stage, I walk out after our intro plays, and there's like 25,000 people there. Like, where did these people come from? It's like there was a CGI collection of a crowd shot that went, and like people were there to see our band, and they were ready to go. I mean, 12 o'clock in the morning, raining, pissing down rain, probably hungover, but 12 o'clock we have to go see Fozzy, and they did. And for the band that was on after us, they filtered away again. So it was good to know that like there still are these fans out there, and there always has. Metal has never been mainstream. It's had its cups of coffee, cups of tea in the mainstream, but it's always been kind of an underground scene. But that makes you more loyal. Like whenever you meet somebody that likes the same band as you do, there's automatically a connection, automatically like almost a friendship. You know, especially when you get to some more obscure bands. Like, oh, you like Halloween? I love Halloween. Really? Oh, let's have a drink. So that's kind of something that always will be there in metal. And that's always what keeps heavy metal music growing and constant stream of new kids coming in to be involved with it.
Okay. You and Rich started the band back in 1999. Since then, obviously, you've had a few chops and changes like almost all bands do. The lineup we've got now, is this the best one, do you think?
Absolutely, by far. I mean, it's been Rich and myself and Frank Fonseca, our drummer, who's played on every record. Frank left for a while in 2005, came back in 2009. But this lineup we have with Billy Gray and Paul DeLeo is by far the best band we've ever had, not just as players, as songwriters, but as people. Like, we have a great time hanging out.
Yeah, it looked like it last night.
Yeah, and you can just see on stage. I mean, we leave everything we have on stage, and it's not forced. We just love doing what we do. And Paul has been with us for a year, the bass player. I call him the Fonz. He's like the coolest guy, and he's played with everybody from Paul Simon to Joe Lynn Turner to Enrique Iglesias to Ace Frehley to everybody in between. He's one of those amazing virtuoso musicians who's always been looking for the right band to be in. You know, and now that he, you know, not as a side man, but as a contributor and as part of the band. And so since he joined, that was like the missing piece of the puzzle that we never knew we had until we got him. And now ever since then, you can just feel this extra power on stage. So I mean, not to sound egotistical, but there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance, but we feel we could go head to head with any band in a live situation. And that includes Metallica or Slayer or Iron Maiden or anybody. It might, the people might never have heard of us before, but we know how to connect, and we know how to, you know, if you're having a good time, that translates to the fans in the crowd. And like I said, whether it's 10 people or 10,000, we don't care. We're doing our thing every night. Yeah,
sure. Now, just to talk about connecting with the crowd there, obviously us over here, we know you not only for your music, but also for your career as a wrestler. When you're on stage, is it a different buzz to that you get in the ring?
Not really. I mean, it's the same vibe. It's live performing. And I think whether you're wrestling or a musician or, you know, doing a Shakespearean play or whatever it may be, when you have a live audience in front of you, that's the thrill of getting the instant gratification. The instant cheering, the callbacks. I mean, if it's wrestling or people are booing you or cheering you, they're chanting your name or chanting, you know, you suck or whatever it is. It's a similar thing to having people say, hey, 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 1, 2, 3 in a Fozzy gig, or they're chanting Fozzy, you know, or Fozzy, 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 oi, 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 whatever the hell it is that they're doing. So that's the cool thing. I mean, the times when I've done, you know, some movies or some TV work, it's great, but you never really get to hear the reactions of what people think until 6 months later when it comes out. When you're on screen or on stage or in the ring, you get that gratification seconds after you do something. So it's a pretty similar vibe. And once again, I always treated it like I wanted to be the party host. When I first started wrestling, I wanted to be like Paul Stanley of wrestling, like the ultimate frontman in the wrestling world. And then when we started Fozzy, it was take the same traits that I used with wrestling as Y2J that I got from Paul Stanley and David Lee Roth and James Hetfield, begat into Y2J, which begat back into Fozzy. So it's a very, you know, it's a symbiotic function. There's a word for you.
Do you still get nervous out there, or not as much?
I always get nervous, but in a good way. It doesn't matter what it is. You have to have that nervous energy. The only thing that I'm ever worried about is that I'm going to walk on stage and there's going to be like 2 people there, because that's the hardest thing to do. And it happens sometimes, you know, even when you're working with the WWE, sometimes you go into, you know, an 8,000 seat arena in Augusta, Georgia, and there's 1,500 people there. It's the same vibe. When you have a sold out show like we had last night, or a crowd like Download, that's when you know, okay, this is my night, and I don't care if we're on first or last. I'm taking this. You know, and sometimes you have a smaller crowd, but you never make the people who pay. You never punish the people who pay. You got to give them just as good of a show, but it's always a little bit harder.
Yeah, sure.
So I always feel nervous energy, like I want it to be a great gig, because there's nothing better than having an amazing show, and there's nothing worse than having a bad show. And they both happen, and you never know. You never know what it's going to be. You could have a sold out show, and the crowd just doesn't get into it as much. You could have, you know, 100 people in Exeter and they're going crazy, and that's one of the best shows of the tour. So you just never know what you're going to get.
Okay, just talk about your wrestling career very briefly, Chris. Obviously, we saw you make a dramatic return to the WWE at the start of the year. Since then, you battled CM Punk for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania and at Extreme Rules. You then fought Dolph Ziggler at SummerSlam. Last time we saw you was on Raw. I understand there's been some difficulties agreeing a new deal with the WWE. Is there any further developments as far as that goes?
Yeah, that's not really. I mean, it's funny how internet kind of says things and it becomes you know, written in stone. That's not really not the case at all. Like I said, in 2009, I kind of decided that Fozzy was going to become the priority, and kind of built the rest of my schedule around the band. This year, we started recording Sin and Bones in December, and as the singer, it takes me about 16 days to do my parts once I write the lyrics and do the vocals, and then I'm done. And then 6.5 months for those other guys to play the musical part of it and do the production and the mixing and all that sort of stuff. So that's why I had a big hole in my schedule to go back to the WWE. That's why I came back in January. I stayed until August. If you notice, I left right when Sin and Bones came out, you know, and then we went and did a big tour in the States. So that was always the plan. It was never like, we'll wait and see. It was like August 14th, I'm done. Great, shake hands, and when you got another break, come on back. So, you know, we were just kind of toying with the idea of maybe me doing something like on a semi-regular basis, coming and going, you know, 2-3 times a month. And I was up for it, and they were up for it, and then we kind of thought, you know what, it's probably not really going to do that, because I don't know what my schedule's going to be, and for me to come in for a weekend or 2 here and there doesn't really do, you know, maybe not help them as much as it could. So it wasn't like there was a big fight and it's like, well, you suck and you suck, and forget it. It was more along the lines of, when you have some time again that you can come back and commit 100%, we'll be happy to have you. And that's the way I always work anyways. I'm not the type of guy that comes back and just works on pay-per-views or the odd TV. I work all the shows, you know, and then that's the way it should be. So I'm either in or I'm out, and as of right now, I'm out. I'm open to going back. I just don't have any plans of it right now, because this tour basically just started, and we've been so busy since it started that I haven't had a lot of time off anyways. So we'll see what happens in the future.
So your attention at the minute is solely on Fozzy?
Well, it'll be my intention from now on. I mean, you know, when this record comes out, we'll do another one and another one after that. I'll never go back full-time to wrestling. We'll never say never, but I don't really see myself doing that. I did it for 22 years, you know, and like I said, and now that we've got so much stuff going on with the band, I mean, hey man, anytime you get asked to do a tour with Metallica, you know things are going the right way, and it's time to let's stick with this and really focus in on it. And you know, I want Metallica's job. I'm not in this just to have fun with it. I want to be the best band in the world and the biggest band in the world. And if you don't have that attitude, you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be doing this.
Fair enough. Now, obviously, you have a UK tour now to finish off. You then head across Europe, eventually Australia in the new year. After that, what's next for you guys?
Well, working on more tours. I think we're going to do something in April and May. It's just a matter of finding the right mix, finding the right tour. And then that'll be in the States, and then we'll come back here into the UK in August, probably late July, early August. We're doing the Bloodstock Festival, which is now becoming like the #2 festival in the UK since Sonosphere is kind of in a state of influx. So you can never do the same festival 2 years in a row. So we were lucky. We did Sonosphere in 11, Download in 12, and now we're doing Main Stage at Bloodstock in 13. So it's just, once again, the progression is there, which is great, and then we'll fill in all the dates around that. So that's kind of the tentative schedule for now, and then just kind of see where it goes. You know, there's a lot of kind of balls up in the air. We did a tour called the Uproar Tour in the States with Shinedown and Godsmack, which was 6 weeks long. August, September.
Right.
And that really kind of took us to the next level in North America. So there's a lot of kind of, oh, we should take you guys out on tour. And it's like, okay, well, let's see how it goes. So we're just kind of putting it all together right now.
Great, Chris, that's fantastic. Thanks ever so much for coming in.
All right.
If you want to see a bit of the show from last night at the Underground in Hanley, go onto StaffsLive's website. There's going to be stuff on there later today. As for now, Chris, thanks so much. Thanks, man. He was in the front row bootlegging on his iPhone. And he was screaming like a woman. It was great. I threw my panties at him. Something like that. Cheers, Chris. No, you threw your panties at me. Isn't that supposed to work? Yeah.